call to order our Tourism and Arts Commission meeting for Monday, August 26th at 3 p.m. And I know we don't have on there, but we don't need to go over minutes. I didn't see any.
I didn't.
Okay,
Yet,
okay.
so I do apologize.
That is
When I get them all caught up, you'll probably have 4.
like, okay, fantastic. So our first agenda item is Sea Turtles Forever. And Mark, welcome back. How are you? Feel free to take a seat right up there. And I appreciate you getting us the information of the further questions that we had as we try and, you know, kind of see if there's a way to make our or your requests and our committee constraints kind of mesh together to see. So I see that we have, when we asked about the dates for the larger events, we had the July 26th, 27th, and then an August 9th.
And now on August 14th now, or no, excuse me, that's September 9th and 14th.
September 9th.
And
Okay,
now we have one for the 14th,
August,
moving them out.
September 14th. Okay. And how late had been the one that, I mean, how late have you ever done it before?
October is the latest we've ever ran.
Okay.
And it's, you know, depending on weather strengths, but I'm working with a group now, First Nature Tours. They wanted to do 2 more groups in October, but I'm not sure if that's going to work out. Just
Okay.
because if it starts raining, it's hard for us to do our normal protocol.
Mhm.
And I've been thinking about actually a new way we might be able to bring in groups at any time of year.
Okay.
As far as the bringing in groups, it's like an environmental tourism
Mhm.
and team building, but we have to remove a lot of debris. Besides the microplastic, there's a lot of debris in our way. And so we have to rake through that and pick out all larger sticks. Anything, get our hands on. Big piles of grass, we take the microplastics out of it and we remove that. I'm thinking we could do that in the winter. I'm thinking we could do that part of the project in the rain if we had to. So that's one option that I've been looking at. Because it's a lot of work. I mean, if you went down to Whale Park right now and you look at all the grass debris that we separate, it's in piles now on the beach and all the sticks. And we leave it there so people can actually make their campfires out of it if they want. It's great. It's all the small sticks and stuff, and people like to build their hot dog fires or whatever down there. And so that part of the project can be done in the rain. That's what I figured. Or rain or shine, or even when there's a lot of moisture in the sand and it's not raining. So I've been checking on that, and First Nature Tours, they really want, you know, they've been really good. We've gotten some good groups out of them. And they are real interested in October this year. Not sure if that's going to materialize, but we're working on it. Right now, the latest we have is September 14th. And I mean, this was the wettest August I can ever remember. It just rained for a week.
Yeah.
How does, I don't understand why we would be moving organic debris in the middle of winter when the next tide's just gonna move it again. Because that's what, the king tide.
It wouldn't be middle of winter. It would be more like starting in April, May. You know, before the summer season hits. But after the king tides are pretty much done. And because that is a good point. It always comes in the winter. So we move stuff around that doesn't do us any good. Middle of the winter, it's probably not going to work. But April, May could work real well. And you know, we try and start on the Earth Day for the Earth Day celebration. We try to start our program there. That's our target date, Earth Day, April. But I think we've only had one Earth Day event where we actually were able to filter. But we can move the debris and get it out because it comes in it forms in these big mats at the tide line. And it's just a mat of this grass debris, wood, small wood, bigger wood. And the plastics really like is embedded in that. And usually at the bottom because and so we have to move that stuff anyway, but we could do that when it's wet. That's one thing. So April, May would work for doing that. I'm trying to get us to be able to work, like you know, asking for the heavy summer season and just after the heavy summer season. More people in, more heads in beds then. We have been putting some heads in beds.
Can you tell me how did these people find places to stay on July 26th? Did they make their reservations a year in advance? I mean,
I didn't ask them how they got place to stay. All I did was take account of who's spending the night.
spend the night.
I mean, I don't know how much lead time they have, but there's, you can find things.
Yeah, how far in advance do people plan this out?
That I don't,
People right now who are planning to do this next year?
oh, yeah. Like ERM was, they had 20 people stay. And the director of that program for them, it's USI, it was USI. And they have a program called USI Gives Back. And I told her we need to track how many people are staying. Because it's really important to us right now with this Tourism and Arts Commission that we have some kind of data on how many people are staying. And so she did that for me. But she didn't say when they made the reservation or where they made the reservation. She just said, we have 20 people spending the night. And you know, the amazing thing of everybody we've had here has eaten here. And they always want to go to the public coast. They're like, we're going to the public coast right after this. I mean, the whole group goes to the public coast. And including myself sometimes, not every time. But I was amazed how everybody wanted to go to the public coast. But it's right where we're working there.
Yeah.
Mark, when did you confirm with USI that like, yeah, we're gonna do it on this date?
Back last winter.
Yeah, so they've had months that they knew that they
Yeah.
were gonna be there.
Yeah.
So they could have booked anytime.
I mean,
But I mean, the next thing would be, are they staying in a hotel or are they staying with friends?
Yeah.
Because that's the other part. Yeah, if they made it in the winter, then maybe that group makes a hotel reservation. I don't.
Airbnb or whatever.
That's, I mean, I've had people in my shop and we call the chamber and it's like, oh no, there's nothing. Was this a weekend? Or is it midweek?
that was a Friday.
Yeah.
But yeah, we plan those events with USI 3 months in advance. At least 3 months in advance.
Okay.
And they actually pay their people to do that. It's a paid workday. And they have 120 in the office and they take like half the office covers the other half the office for the day. And so they don't miss a blink.
So if you were gonna do April and May, and they came down to do that, you would separate the plastic you can see from the organic debris. And that would be picked up and thrown away. You just can't do the filtering for microplastics. Is that correct?
We wouldn't throw it away because we've gotten pushback on that. So with the organic debris, the plastics we throw away.
Yes.
But if we decided that we're gonna start booking these events in April, if it did rain, then what we would do is go down and we would remove the organic debris and we just move it down the beach where all the plastic is heavily concentrated at the top of the beach. So we move it down the beach out of our way. That speeds us up dramatically because then we can just come up and filter right through the plastics.
So
and-
if it's raining, what would you do with the big pieces? I mean, I walk on the beach and I pick up stuff that I can see. Would you pick those up if you can't filter?
Oh, yeah, but
Okay, so those people, if you can't filter because it's raining, they'll still separate the organic debris and pick up larger chunks that
Yeah.
they can see.
the amount of there's so little large chunk down there.
Really?
Very little.
Yeah, come on down to our end of it.
Would you like to go to Sitka?
Tolavana South.
Oh.
Tolavana South, because I heard Tolavana is really bad this year.
Tolavana probably is because it gets a lot of,
Traffic. I mean, it's a lot of people. down
yeah, a lot of
there.
people down there, but you go south of there and you know, you still, there's a lot of plastic and stuff. There's also a lot of stuff that washes in from like fishing boats and that kind of stuff.
Down by Silver Point.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah,
that's
between
real-
Tolavana and Silver Point. Yeah,
And
yeah.
past to Lion and Arcadia. I
Yeah,
mean,
actually all
That's
the way
where we
down.
walk all the time, so.
yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff down there that just, and a lot of it just seems to wash in from boats. But it is big stuff, you know, it's big plastic and ropes and, you know, you can see oil cans and that kind of
What I
stuff,
filled
so.
the bag with the other day.
Yeah, and you know, that isn't really our focus, the bigger stuff.
No, but what I'm thinking is that, you know, if you bring a group in and it's pouring rain, so you can't run your filters, you could maybe, you know, just have them just start here and just start working south
Yeah,
and just pick up whatever they can. I mean, that'd be a big help and it's still getting plastic off the beach.
that's true. That would work,
Obviously, if you can run your filters, do that, but you know.
right? That's another great idea. Because, you know, I've really been trying to tailor our program a little bit more towards what you people want because the potential of having you help fund us is, I mean, that's like kind of life-changing for us, as far as our ability to.
So if I can gauge a timeline, like if, I mean, and I know it's totally unpredictable because we're dealing with tides, but you know, if you have a group that's coming down in April or May, like every time when they come down, are you having to remove the vegetation and before someone comes and filters, or how often do you see that?
Oh, this year was unbelievable.
Okay,
How much organic debris was matte at Whale Park.
well, I would assume that's from the dune cuts. I mean, the king tide's coming off of the dune, I would think, because there's been mass erosion.
Oh, really?
The cliffs on the north end, yeah.
Okay, that
Oh.
might be one of the reasons we had, it was really bad this year. I mean, if you go down there where we're working, the amount of grass we're pulling is, you know,
Yeah.
astronomical.
Yeah, because that kind of third lower dune.
We have a team now that is working ahead of the filter team just to remove that stuff. And we use rakes. We have to rake it out and then move it out of the way. And that's like, you know, I'll have 3, 4 people, maybe 4 or 5 maybe doing that while the other group is filtering towards us. It's trying to stay ahead of them. It's been quite a challenge this year because of this, so much of that grass so if it's eroding off like Chapman Point Beach.
Yeah.
Then yeah.
I mean, that's my personal observation is where I would think it's, because I've seen it fall
A lot of it's probably.
down, yeah. But,
We always have that, but this year was just way worse.
okay, yeah.
So remind me how much you were asking for again?
I believe it was 35,000.
And I see where you're saying thought it was about gosh, sorry. I marked this up, but now I'm not seeing it.
So the request from Sea Tours.
Oh, yeah.
38,168.
And that would fund how many events?
That would fund most of our season. That did fund our season.
You're saying about $700 per, it says without our full-time core team, we would not host event. It costs us about $700 per day to have the whole team working one of those.
That varies a little bit, like, USI, we put with USI, because both of their groups were fairly large. We put 6 of our team, which sometimes we only have 2 people working. Depends on who can be there that day, for sure. You don't always have 5 or 6, but that's our full team of everybody. And we'll have everybody on deck, all hands on deck when we have a group, because it takes a lot of management direction to get them to be efficient, but they've been really efficient this year, man. They were amazing. All our groups, the groups we've had been,
So when you say $700, is that the cost of having them on the beach that day, or does that include administration, all that?
that would be pretty much everything of to pay our core people for the day. And supplies and administration.
Okay,
That's the one time I'm the administration. I'm there. Every time we have a group, I'm there. If there's a large group. Otherwise, I run a construction business.
Yeah.
That's how
okay.
but otherwise I'll come down and work when I can. But if we have groups, I'm there. Because I have to just make sure that everything's perfect for those groups.
And last time that we spoke, when we mentioned the shoulder season or the off season, you were thinking of different ways to maybe filter microplastics in the wet. Has there been any progress in that?
It just,
Okay,
the system we use really doesn't work in the wet.
okay,
It works incredibly well when it's dry, but the filters clog when it's damp. So, that just doesn't work. And, it's also, part of our timing is about what was her name?
oh, Julie?
What Julie mentioned about, starting in the middle of the winter and then it just comes right back. Right? By April, it's done falling. It comes on those ice and winter swells, winter storms. By April, it's done falling. We know we start working in an area, it's not going to get recovered. And then it's set for the year. So that's the one thing about that timeline of, starting in April, we know nothing's going to fall. And we can start working and then we won't have to go back and do the same spot twice.
Have you had the occasion in the summertime when you've had these booked that you've gotten a heavy rain and you haven't been able to do it?
Not for groups yet,
Okay,
but we have had our team shut down in this month. Well, last week it rained every day.
yeah,
And that, I've never seen that. I don't think we missed more than 2 days in August in 13 years. And this year, wet August.
mhm.
So that cost us a little bit. We couldn't run for a week.
Do you have groups that come into town to do this? And then when you're talking about your team, these are people who live here that do this.
Live here or in Seaside. We've had people coming up from Rockaway to work that have been on our team. And also some people, we have had college students from Eugene whose parents have a beach house there. And but that core team is all basically local.
Okay.
And
And you,
Never mind. So
I've been they're here
gotcha.
all summer. And that's the thing about our budget constraints I hire these people in, spring, April. March, April is when I'm trying to hire people. And if we don't have our budget, I write grants. I do everything I can, but if we don't have a budget, it's hard for me to hire. Because if I hire a college student or anybody, if I hire anybody and I tell them, look, I've got a summer job for you. We're gonna be working these 4 months. You want to do a summer job. I've got to keep them working all summer. If I hire them for that. If I don't have the funds in our budget for 4 people or 5 people, then then maybe I've only got enough in my funds in my budget for 2. That's the problem.
I get it.
And if I don't know the funds are coming, like, we got a grant from Parks and Rec, but we got it in August. And I wasn't even sure if we were gonna have enough funds to make it through the year, make it through this 4 months period. And, you know, it's really hard working like that.
I can ask a question, budget question. So one of the things that Ashley said, we're not able to fund your operational costs. So she said operating costs we can't cover, but we could fund the special event portion that brings people to town. So the 700 a day that you mentioned, would you be spending that whether you had a group here in town or not?
He'd be paying his employees.
He'd be paying his employees, whether he had a group or not.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, we work
Do I
five
have that right?
days a week is our schedule.
Right.
but do you have costs that you incur specifically for bringing people in to do this event?
Paying for my team to direct them.
But you would pay for your team even if you didn't have a group come in?
I mean, we're 5 days a week is, you know, honestly, yeah, we're gonna be down there all we can. 5 days a week if we can.
I see what you're talking about. That's a challenge.
It's
So we can't fund his team.
because that's operational.
Right.
So what we need to find is the event portion that is specific to the event, and that's what we can fund.
Yep.
So,
But the team is specific to the event because we can't have the event without the team. So they're,
There without an event.
so you have
So
a team without.
then it's no longer tourism based.
but we,
How about training the team for the event?
But that's still operating because you're still training the team for doing what they're gonna do.
So I'm very sorry I missed the first portion, but why can you not fund operations?
It's the way the ORS is written.
Yeah, the state statute says you can't use it for ongoing operations, which I would kind of delve into that a little bit because the Multnomah County Convention Center does that with the TLT funds. There are lots of examples, but the idea,
Convention centers for.
true, but still, it's an operational expense. I mean.
Yeah, I.
Of that 70% of the thing.
It's like whoever is gonna manage the school when it's done. That I would think that would be.
Correct.
Whatever that is, would be okay to pay for that because it's supposed to be tourism based.
Correct. So my understanding of the state statute is if Mark asked for X amount, Sea Turtles asked for X amount of dollars and they got X amount of dollars and you said a portion of this was going to hire a person to do our marketing and coordinating, to bring the teams in, talk to OSI or USI or whoever it is, and do all the stuff,
Marketing.
the marketing stuff, that's kosher. You could do that. So, which actually, if you look at a lot of our festivals and things, that's exactly what they do. So, you know, and that's a part of this discussion. I'm just kind of sitting over being quiet because I want to talk about that. I want to talk about, you know, what if funds were to go to them, whether through this commission or a grant or the Parks Committee or whatever, what are those things that, you know, I hear people ask questions and it's kind of like, are we trying to bring people in and have the people that are participating with their corporate, what do you call it?
team building.
Yeah, team building and stuff, to those be the heads and beds? Or do you want the team building event to generate discussion and talk and traction? So people are like, oh, Cannon Beach is clean, or they are. So all the people out there that want to be environmental eco-tourists, environmental tourism, they're like, we want to come to Cannon Beach because we know that they're doing this to their beaches, whereas, you know, some other places not. I think that is actually the key thing in this discussion.
Can I say something? That and coupled with the fact that every day the team has people come up saying, what are you doing? And they explain it. These are tourists and they say, we love Cannon Beach. You guys are trying to save the world and we love this. How can we get involved? And so this is a portion of their time every day is dealing with visitors who are coming here and getting a really good rosy picture of Cannon Beach. You know, it attracts them and you know, plus the heads and beds, the teams who are out, a portion of them stay here and they say, oh, we didn't know this this town is so lovely and they come back, and a lot of them are caring people, good citizens that we want to have here. So, that we have that portion every day, plus what you said about, the PR. We sure could use a PR person.
Yeah, so I mean, I like to get long-winded on these things, but I relate it to what it was about 2017 when this commission gave funding for the Clutchie Creek bike, and not to build the trails, but to create their plan. And fast forward 4, 5, 6, 7 years now, Travel Oregon has a dedicated web page and group specific to cycling in Oregon. You look around, there's bike racks on every bike I mean, not every car, but a lot around town. And I think the same thing, and this is just me pontificating, I think the same thing is gonna be happening with like the ecotourism aspect of it. So if Sea Turtles is out there saying, hey, we are gonna do these cleanups, and they're weather dependent, but we're gonna do them, 2 times a month during the summer, and they're funded. And oh, by the way, if you're staying at a hotel, you want to come on down and help out, get involved, the synergy that's going to create of people talking about the net positive is, I think, far outweighs how many people came and spent that night for that event. That's just how I think about
The
it.
problem that I see is, so most of this then we can't fund, but we can, the problem is we can fund something on top of what he's already doing. But that's not helping them, that's not helping him get a budget to hire people in March. That's the problem. Not that, I mean, it's a problem for him, for us to be able to say, well, we would fund a PR person to actually, you've done that work to get people to come down. Now we'll take it and go out to the press and see what we can generate. But that doesn't help you get a budget in March. That's the problem.
No, and I don't know enough about this, and I don't think it's the commission's position to tell you how to do it. But, if you're people that are leading cleaning or filtering crews are trainers or educators or whatever, that's not necessarily operations. That is the activity.
Oh, that's what,
Just like if you had a yoga festival and you have a yoga trainer and instructor, if you have people running your filtering crews that are like teaching every day John Q. Public how to do it and educating them on microplastics and the whole process, then like I wouldn't see that as operational.
That happens every.
that's exactly what we're doing.
But she looked
With
at
the
the
team.
materials he presented last time, and that was what she said. She said, this looks like it's all his operating costs. And I think the difference between your example and what he said is Mark does this on a regular basis. The yoga festival is a festival that comes in and does it as an event. Mark's doing it anyways, and that's where I'm
Yeah,
worried
I think,
about.
I think we need to get a clear definition of operating expenses from Ashley. To tell you the truth.
I mean, I can ask her that question, but I would like to get more questions too, and maybe some more information from Mark, so we can come back with
Yeah. But I would like to get that, because I see, Greg, exactly what you're saying is that to me, it's not a clear, this is operational, this is not, it seems like there's some overlap in there. So I kind of need to get some clarification as to just what that definition is.
And that is it, when there is a little bit of, it's exactly like what you were saying. When our team is down there and we're by ourselves, we have tourists constantly coming up. What are you doing? Oh, that's amazing. We had one guy just say, can I help? Sure. Here you go. And he has a house down here somewhere. He just bought a house and he goes, hey, man, this is unbelievable. I want to help. Here you can jump in. But so on a day-to-day basis, we're just doing the job, getting it done, because you could run probably 10 events and 20 events and maybe not get the job done. We're making sure the job gets done, because that's what our goal is with that core team day after day. But when we have these groups, they're doing a totally different thing. They're educating, they're directing, teaching these people how to run the screens. They're not doing their normal filtering on those event days. Our team actually doesn't do much filtering on those event days. We're more directing, teaching, helping these groups run. So it's now at this point, well, you'd be down there anyway. We wouldn't be doing the same thing.
Can you put a cost to that? So like we have your budgets.
Yeah.
And we have your organizational budget and everything that you look at this, you've got printer paper, you've got gloves,
Yeah.
you've got all of these things that very filter operators. Can you say, this is what we have for our day-to-day basis, but when we do an event, these are our event costs, separate from this?
Yes.
Because if you can show that this event has these costs for these, this is the dollar amount, and these are the purposes that make it up. It would be
Normal.
easier, yeah, because then we can separate the difference between your regular beach days versus an event day.
Right.
And I think that's what Ashley needs to see, is your event needs to, you need to show us how your event is different than your regular everyday stuff.
Right.
And I think that would make
Because
it,
it is a totally different day, a totally different thing.
We also find out an average of how much time is spent talking to the visitors on the beach and cover that portion.
In that case, then I would apply. My employees are always talking about how nice it is in Cannon Beach and blah, blah, blah to people who are staying here.
Yeah,
That's part of normal everyday operation, being an employee and chatting with people.
plus it's not an event, and that's what we're here to fund is an event.
Yes.
Right.
So,
Okay.
you know, I appreciate that, you know, you get people talking to you during normal days when you're out there, and that probably stirs interest, and, you know, maybe that gets people to come to an event, which is good, or gets them to get more people to come to an event, which is good, but that's not something that we can actually
Right.
fund out of this commission. The event itself. Yeah, and just like what Jennifer's saying, if you can sit down and say that it costs us $500 a day to operate our business 5 days a week. And on event day, it costs us $1,000. And
Right.
so here's the difference, and then we can start talking about, okay, what do we do with that? That's
Yes.
kind of where we see the difference. So just, you know, what's your baseline? What does it cost you on a daily basis just to run your business when there's no event going on?
Does that get us around the time of year? I mean, April, May, we're
We
okay.
still wouldn't, again, I couldn't go to city council and say, yeah, July 26th. No. But April, May, and maybe October,
You know,
What about September? Schools,
which September is such a hard one. I mean, we fund the college tour, the cottage tour, so that's a tough one.
For me, I would say mid to late, possibly okay, but not early.
Yeah.
yeah.
what is I was wondering what that defining line is.
Well, it used to be a lot. more
Historic-
Fine.
Historically, it was September through June, but now, you know, Sandcastle is kind of the very last thing. So now it's June through, I like to say October 15th, but it's still September on paper.
Yeah.
You know,
So September through June, so April, May is good.
Yeah.
September, October would be good then too, huh?
I mean, technically it's July and August where we can't do anything.
Right.
And just kind of reiterating, like, I don't look at this as the actual event when it's taking place.
Yeah,
I look at this as the whole thing as an advertising opportunity.
Yes.
yeah.
And I would agree with that, but so if we looked at funding it from the standpoint that what Jennifer and Tom just said, is like, this is above and beyond when we do event day, so I'll just say numbers. It's $1,000 every time we do one of these event days. And we're gonna do one in March, 2 in April, and then there'll be 1 in September and 2 in October, whatever. And then maybe we say, okay, well, whatever, that is $6,000 for those event days. And then some money for promotion of that. And the promotion of that could be the whole dang thing.
Correct.
Because I think that would qualify, because you're not paying for everyday operations of gloves and, you know,
Yeah.
paper and now that toner, but you are paying for someone, or, you know, someone to go out and hit the press with, look what Cannon Beach is doing. And yeah, they do it in the summer too. We won't be able to pay for it. Maybe another grant can pay for what's happening in the summer, but maybe we can pay for those and add on a promotion part.
That would really help, actually,
Okay.
because that's what I do. I do all the communications, all the promoting, organizing these groups. It's a lot,
And that's what you need to, when you submit this material, you need to put that in.
because that's a lot of work.
Yeah,
And
and
I do that.
we really do. need
That's
to-
the promotion.
The promotion part, but
Right.
that's something you need to include when you give us additional information, because I don't believe we can say we'll fund you for promotion if they didn't ask for it, right?
I would
Yeah.
think not.
That's the kind of stuff,
We need a number of ten.
when you bring in these numbers, that's the kind of stuff you need to include to make this more of an event.
You know, and that is kind of built into that request.
So-
But it isn't isolated at all. It's,
Down.
That
yeah, and,
actually won't say, yeah, these are basic operations.
right.
Thank
You
you.
know, and I'm looking at it kind of like this
Sure, that's your job.
and,
But this purview for this group versus the community grants, the community grants is wide open. This one is very specific. And it has to be event driven. And so that's where if you present it as an event with separate costs, it shows that it is an event. And
right,
a side note, just because when you were talking about budgeting things, since this is your first time applying, you don't get the funds all at once. It is spread out over 4 different quarters. So just kind of, I'm not sure if we ever discussed that with you.
I read that.
Okay, did you? Okay, just
I read that in the-
making
in the
sure. It's
paperwork.
Different from budgeting, because you'll
Right.
know you'll get money. You know what you'll get, it's not gonna be.
Well, that-
Community grant.
And that right there, at least I'm like, okay, we got a plan. Here we are. Instead of like, oh my God, I hope we get that grant so I can hire somebody.
Right.
You know, it's like, that's really hard.
Yeah.
That's hard. So, and the other thing is the whole thing kind of works. Like, Greg, you made a really good point because the impact of this project and this operation it's more than just that event because the amount of publicity that it creates with all the people, and part of it's people walking up on the beach, and wow, what are you doing? Oh, they're excited. Everybody loves it, of course. I mean, we're cleaning the beach. They're enjoying the beach. But these bigger groups, it kind of spreads out. When you're bringing, 40, 50 people at a time, and they are leaving really satisfied that they made a difference on the planet that day. It spreads in a lot of different directions. Where, hey man, in Cannon Beach, and then someone asked them, what do you do in Cannon Beach? Well, there's 50 people that were down here cleaning beach. Well, they filter their beach down there. How many people do they talk to? And how many people do they talk to? And how many people, it's exponential about, hey, Cannon Beach, that's where you want to go. They filter their beach. It is amazing. And there's so much microplastic because people don't really realize until they come filter how much is actually in the beach. I mean, if you walk down there, you can see it, but when you filter it, it's mind blowing what's actually in that sand. And it leaves a big impression on all those people in those events that come. And then they're talking.
Pictures that were in the Gazette article of the filtration showed, the big contractor bags and all
Oh, yeah.
that. Was that all microplastics or was that, I mean, my husband asked me that because he was like, oh, this,
40% of it.
okay.
I've done that. I done a square meter sample in one of those really organic spot where that mat is.
Yeah,
And I pull everything. It's 27 pounds wet. Pulled it all. And then separated it. Took me about at least a month. I'm not out there 8 hours a day because I've got a job, but a business. But yeah, it's about 40%
yeah,
plastic,
okay.
which is
And
it's
that's what,
quite a job separating.
Yeah, oh, I bet.
So I don't do it every day. We're on the beach, obviously, but we've come up with about 40% when you're just taking everything. And that's a lot. And I mean, you can see that when you're down there and you're actually filtering and you can see how much is there in the filters. And we pick everything organic we can out.
Mhm.
We spend an incredible amount of time doing that.
So if I kind of understand where we're at right now, what we unfortunately, I think we're gonna need a little more information from you.
Okay,
Just kind of, if you can separate out event specific costs. And separate those out from your everyday costs. And I think for my purposes, it could be fairly general. I mean, if you can come in and show us that, you know, you spend $500 a day to run your business and it costs you $1,000 to do the event day or 1,500 or whatever it is. So I just know what that difference is.
Yeah, that's pretty close to what it is too.
Yeah, I mean, so, you know, if you can come back and with that, I think that's probably gonna deal with the issue of operating costs and that sort of thing. And then let us know what events you can do that are not in July and August. Yeah, I mean, in September, you know, later in September, the better. I mean, personally, I'm kind of okay with anything after Labor Day, but you know, because the kids are back in school by then, so that might trim it down a little bit, but you know, maybe a little bit later. So you can kind of give us that. Then I think we're probably going to be ready to, we'll have what we need that we can be ready to make a recommendation to council.
So the one thing that,
Oh, and one other thing, just while I'm thinking about it too, if you can identify specific promotion costs.
Right, I was gonna say. Or time even.
Yeah, time, specific amount of time you spend doing promotion. And then, you know, if you have to pay for flyers or anything like that to send out, just let us know what that is too. So,
okay, yeah, I think we're getting closer to, you know, tailoring this thing to what gives you the information you need.
yeah, I mean, I know it's a lot of work for you. I appreciate you putting that work in and that effort. Thanks. Yeah.
Well, I think this is a vital operation. I couldn't imagine what the beach would be like without it. I really couldn't. I mean, I've been doing this for 13 years now and I can't even imagine if we weren't down there. But the one thing that is kind of a gray area for me is how many events am I going to be able to schedule? How many events? You know, I have a rough idea of, because we have USI definitely coming back next year. They've already committed. ERM, I'd pretty much say for sure they're going to come back. The bank soccer teams, you know, and I can reach out and do this promotional work. That would be, you know, and I would have to upgrade that portion of what we're doing as far as scheduling events, because this, you know, coincides around events, us getting funded for these events. I would just have to do more work on that promotion and scheduling and make it happen and try and get people here in April, May, September, October. So it'd take a little bit of a reorganization of what I'm doing.
we'll do that.
You'll know too, because if you come back and say each of these events are gonna cost $1,500, I'm gonna ask you for X amount so I can do 5 of them. You then know that you have, and they say, yes, we're gonna fund that. You know you have money for 5 events and you know the parameters of where you need to fit them in, and you can contact them to see if that will work. If for some reason you aren't able to do 5, the money that, let's say you only were able to do 4, you would return the money from that 5th event and just say, I can only do 4.
Or that, okay, I could, that's.
Yeah, so that's what happens with a lot of things, like
Yeah.
the intent is to do it this way, but sometimes things happen and you can't get it all the way done. Sometimes they've actually had to completely cancel their event too.
Well,
So-
and the other thing is, you know, we're not a 1-year show. I mean, this is our 13th year.
Yeah.
So I don't, if you stop filtering these beaches, they're gonna be covered with microplastic. I've seen other, you know, Newport's a prime example. It's unbelievable. They never, but so what if we ask for 5 events and we only get 4, couldn't the other one flow into the next year?
No,
No.
so this is just specifically for that time period. So if you don't spend the money in that time period, you would just say, I'm gonna return this much funds.
Oh, and because, and also the funds are quarterly. So if we get to third quarter, I guess you never know though, because people call me all the time, hey, we want to do an event, can we come? You know, that is true. So we just give the funds back if we don't use them.
If you don't use it. Yeah, but like you said, if you know you have 4 and we funded you for 5, and then the last minute somebody says they wanna do one, you've got the money there, and then you wouldn't have to return anything.
Right.
Wait a
Yeah.
minute.
So if you say I want 5 events.
Right.
And we fund you for 5 events, but you only get 4 scheduled, but like you said, sometimes people call you up and say they want to do one.
Right.
You know you have the money for
For that
event,
fifth
and then
event.
you wouldn't have to return it.
Right.
So you'll know from a planning perspective, it may not be the time you normally have it planned. But once they say, okay, we're gonna fund this and council says, yes, we agree to that, you're gonna know how much money you have for events and you can plan based off of that.
Right. This would be a big help. So when I am breaking down the specifics for this, is like I'm give you guys exactly what you need. We've got event cost and promotional cost, separate items. Is there anything else that needs to be broken up? I mean, event cost will cover materials, our crew and our materials for that day, right?
Specifically for the event only.
For the event only. And then the promotion costs will cover each event. I mean, because that's kind of a promotion is kind of like,
Motion serving an umbrella.
because yeah, I might be trying to do the promotion and not get that event. So the promotion is more of a overall.
Yeah.
Okay. And is there anything else that needs to be really outlined in this for the commission?
I don't think so.
No, I think the biggest thing is just we need to make this more an event. And separate it from your day-to-day stuff that you do to show that it is event related.
Right.
And so these are costs that if you didn't do the event, you wouldn't incur because I'm not gonna clean the beach that day.
Yep.
Kind of
The only thing I would add to that, or a series of events,
series of events, yeah.
not just one event, but, you know, so you might have 12 events or however many, 8 through the year. So all the coordination to coordinate all 8 of those throughout the year, whatever dates they fall on, and then the actual day, that I would focus on that.
Okay. And they have to be April, May, September, October?
We got what events you can do not in July or August, I think was
Yes.
how it was.
Okay.
Not July and August.
It's not July and August.
Is the cup half full?
Boy.
You know, I mean, let's say he's doing 8 events and 2 of them will land in July. Is there something that says we can't fund those?
No, there's not. Actually, the way the application is written, it says that events not held during the summer months would take prime consideration or something.
Some, yeah, it's,
It doesn't say you can't, it
Right.
just says that other ones are gonna take precedence.
because, I mean.
I get some hard questions from city council.
Sure, but this particular event or series of events way I'm hearing, it isn't really about pulling in hundreds of people on a day. It's about creating a smaller series of events that go to
Absolutely,
your mission.
absolutely. It's 40, you know, I'm thinking 40 to 50 people a day. Which, I mean, we didn't even have, they opened up the parking lot for us, so actually that space got to get used at Nikas Park. They opened the gate for us. We were able to park there.
You and I need to talk about that though.
Uh-oh.
We need a certificate of insurance for you to do that. We have that email string going.
Okay, well, one of our partners uses USI Insurance now, so
Well,
I should be able to get that
I need that certificate of insurance to let you park on our city property.
again.
It's the one that was in that email about it has to
Yeah.
list the city of additional insured because
Right.
that's an Ashley rule for anybody using city property like that. So,
I can get that.
yeah, and I'll forward that email.
Would that be part of our event cost? Because,
You're gonna use that as an event cost.
Yeah.
Because you'll have to have the limits that the city requires. And I would write that in as your event, say, well, actually, don't write that in as part of your event, because when construction starts, you're not gonna be able to go
Yeah,
near that.
that's true.
So,
for how long?
as long as construction is going.
But by next summer, will it be open? again?
I have no idea, but there's volunteers. It's gonna go to a vote, and there's gonna be a spot where nobody's allowed to use it for anything, because once we start construction, equipment comes in place, nobody's allowed. to use it.
God, it was so nice using that. We had,
We
and
do need because we require that of everybody else, so we have to do this thing.
well, I've got a partner in insurance now, so
That'd be perfect, as long as we have the insurance that covers us with the limits that are in that special event
2
application.
million.
2 million occurrence, 2 million aggregate, and you have to list the city of Cannon Beach as additional insured.
We'll get that.
Okay,
I got lots of time to deal with that.
perfect.
So I think we've got a lot better idea now.
I guess the question for me next is, when do you think you'll have this done to come back to the commission? Because the commission today, for the end of the meeting, we're gonna look at next time we meet. And you're gonna need to present this to the commission will have to deliberate, then they have to bring it to council for council to approve. So when would you like to have that back to us so they can plan their next meeting?
Well, when's the next meeting? Oh, you
We
got,
don't know yet.
oh, you don't know?
Whatever you,
About a month? I mean, 3 weeks to a month?
Do you need
really-
sooner?
Well,
Sooner is better, right?
it impacts you guys more than it impacts them. Yeah.
How soon? I mean, it's like, I kind of work under pressure. It's like, I'm always putting out the fire that's right next to me.
So if you can get it done in a month, when we talk about meetings, we'll know that we need to have a meeting about in a month. We'll see what they're available, and then we can email you and say, this is when we chose the meeting, but we'll not do one in less than a month. How about that?
Keep in mind that we deliberate and then we have to go to the council meeting and they have to approve it. So it's not just like, it's not up to us.
got it. And we typically go, is that the second week of the month?
The work
Council?
Tuesday? The first and second Tuesday of the month.
Yeah,
I'll try and get it sooner.
Well, we'll know that when we go to talk about meetings, that you'll need at least a month. So we won't, do a meeting in 2 weeks.
I want to call some of my contacts and make sure we're scheduled for another event next year. You know, I'll call ERM, I'll call USI, call my contacts. Call First Nature Tours, see what I'm gonna have some people to work with.
Yes.
So I can, get a good scaffolding or a good idea of, hey, how many events are we gonna have next year? How many events are potential? Because we could have, if I would actually worked on it, we could have probably 10 events.
So just, I was just looking this up. So your first distribution for TAP funds usually happens in November. So that would mean council would have to have this approved before November to be considered to get money starting November.
So sooner the better. I just realistically know this kind of a thing, to pull this together right, I need to contact some people. And I need to pull some things together as far as what's it realistically look like, how many events are we gonna have? And can we do these events on this time frame? And I just want to give myself a little bit of time to make sure that I, cover the bases and make a really good solid number of, hey, we're gonna have 6 events for sure. Or we're gonna have 8 events or whatever. In this time frame. So that'll take me a little bit of time.
If you need any breaks.
I think that's it. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay, you're welcome. Now we're on to
Thank you.
review of final evaluations.
Thank you, everyone, for your time and going through this so diligently and trying to get it to the right place.
Well, and just think next year you're gonna be a pro because you've been through this once and you've done exactly. First one's big behind this.
Great.
Is this first one a final?
That's what I was,
It's not
it's
checked.
not checked, so that's what I,
That's what they did is they removed the midterm and they just left the final circle. This is final.
Okay,
oh, gotcha.
That's how I was interpreting it.
Okay,
gotcha.
okay, so,
See that much difference between the midterm and the final.
no, and I guess,
That Liz does not understand it on the cottage tour. She says it's the final. But it's not a final. She's like, well, this is the final, but we haven't done it yet. It's like,
Yeah.
no, this-
yeah,
Or it's the final for last year. They're always so whacked out.
Yes.
The timing's so
Yeah.
weird.
the only thing on this initial one was that always happens is in January when the coffee shops closed, they get reduced foot traffic, and they said something about working with maybe the chamber or something could promote midtown businesses or something
It's
more in the
winter.
off season.
It's winter. I mean, it's not like they're gonna say,
Yeah,
hey, head down there. I mean.
I was just gonna pick your brain on that.
Your flyer thing for the show is at the chamber so that they can say something about it, which is.
Oh,
what they do.
that's a good point.
I can't imagine that they're not doing that, but maybe. But yeah, I can see why, and you know, that's bad. Nothing you can do about it because of the weird setup of the building.
Yeah,
Yeah. Cheap rent, but you have to deal with the frailties of the building.
yeah.
God.
Any other questions or concerns on that one? Okay.
Nope.
On to event or video production from the chamber.
This was the final. I did not have a chance to check YouTube to see what's actually up.
No, I didn't either, but I guess I could have done that, but
The museum is done with its remodel, right?
that's what I thought.
I think so too. And what did they?
I guess I mean, again, if they don't use the funds, then they come back to us, but I guess I would like to see a longer list of potential videos with kind of like a priority line and then automatic backups, if that makes,
This is the final? For what they did
Yeah.
last year?
yeah,
In their ask for next year,
This-
that's what.
yeah,
where
that's
that
what
was.
we should, yeah,
Yeah, because this is the final
This is
thing.
the-
Here's what we did.
exactly.
Yeah.
Just so that, I mean,
And I can't tell here, did they use all the money?
no, because on the back, it says used 13,550. I think they were short one video than they had planned, if I recall. See the,
Oh, okay. Does that mean we're getting 54.25 back from them, Jennifer?
I have not heard it, so I did email them and ask.
that was my,
I can,
that was my interpretation of it.
Did we give them $18,075 for videos?
Up until last
What
year.
what I don't know is, they're saying that's the annual budget, is that their budget for themselves and we are just participating in it? Or
So they received 18,075.
Mhm.
they did? Okay, so it looks like we're getting back 54.25 because they used 12,650.
You said 54.25?
That's what this says on
Yeah,
on their page.
What's the remainder up there in the income?
Pardon?
Up on the income there, there's the TAC income and then it says remainder 45.1875. Is that remainder,
Oh,
Where's
well,
that coming
this,
from?
so this was the budget that they got from us.
right?
This is what they spent, so there's that remainder. Oh, yeah, so what's this?
Yeah, so that's what I'm.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
What's the
I don't
difference
know.
between those two?
Yeah, I don't understand because they're showing that as income.
yeah.
Remainder of what?
That's what they didn't spend, but what's the difference between that and this?
No, I don't think that's what they didn't spend because it wouldn't be as income, would it? That would just be the difference.
It says remainder, so what we don't know is,
Yeah, but what's that remainder coming from? That's what I don't understand.
well, they only spent this much money.
Yeah.
This is what we gave them.
Oh, okay, so that's the difference between the 1875 and the
Yes.
13, okay.
So what I don't understand then is what's
Why-
this and why, what's
Yeah,
this
what's
number
the
compared to that
750
Yeah,
difference?
okay, you're right. No, it should be
Yeah.
those.
They should
I would
match
think
up,
would
and
match up.
I don't know what's the
Yeah.
difference between that.
Do you see that, Jennifer, where it should be actually $4,518.75 coming back? But I don't understand that
Well,
difference.
their
it's not a big-
actual
not a
says
big difference, but-
13,556.25, but then their
Spent.
expense is 12,650. So I don't understand what the difference is. Why are there two different numbers for what was actual spent?
Uh-huh.
Oh, boy.
The math isn't adding up.
We're getting some money
Getting
back.
money
in
back.
Favor on the video.
Yeah.
There's the question.
And is it me or does it always seem like we're getting money back from video?
I don't remember
No? Okay.
gotten money back from the change art, like on the sign thing and the other things, but not,
Oh, okay.
not specifically video.
Video.
I
Okay.
recall.
So we need to get a hold of them and get clarification on this statement here.
Yep, I've got it highlighted to email them, so I will shoot over an email when we're done and ask them, and then I will let you guys know.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, final on Fat Tire Bike. Attendance was down. We have crummy weather, is that correct, this year?
Yeah, the weather wasn't great.
Yeah.
Although it looked like attendee rate went down, but maybe heads and beds went up is kind of. I thought yeah, surpassed expectations of the amounts of head and bed, the length time people stayed and distance people traveled. So. Any other questions? Matt? Yeah. Good to go? Okay, next one, stormy weather final. And we were 75% of their $10,000 budget. Going to advertising and event brochures. Looks like. Any questions on that? Okay.
Weather, no.
Cottage tour. Final question. Yeah, this one is always.
Oh, man.
And I guess the only big question that we always talk about is the advertising component and.
Right, and so she's saying that since the event has not taken place, this is her midterm essentially.
Yes.
She just forgot to take that out because they should have. Yeah. But so this is the final, so we knew what they spent on advertising because their midterm was practically a final.
Yeah, because they definitely did a separate midterm.
Yeah. They did, and then the midterm is done way later, and so the midterm is practically a final from what I can tell. If I remember correct, God, 21 years. Wow, dang.
Okay, any questions on that one?
Nope.
Okay. Coaster Theater, final. Now. I always have a love-hate relationship with all the data. As a data geek, I love data, but then I'm like,
That's so-
do I love it that much?
It's That is ridiculous. How many trees do we have to kill? Can't they just do like a?
Yeah,
Could just, disrupt.
do it by zip.
Stash.
You think you could just be like, by zip code, could you give us a count? I don't know.
The only problem is you have to learn to read sideways.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need all this paper.
Yeah,
That's, oh man, that's what a waste. Jenny, come on, man.
I will say, I have tried to make a conscious effort because I do have Broadway package in Portland. And I liked how he included the ads from that. Unfortunately, it was all for the shows that I did not attend last year, but I did look at the last one and I was like, I didn't see it in there. But I would say kind of,
With all this time.
was the Tom Grant thing during poor weather? Is that what I recall them saying? I was wondering why, as we're funding the more of the concert event series. I looked at that and I was like, 36 attendees for Tom Grant. Does not seem. Like,
That happens for some of them.
yeah,
It's tricky.
I don't know. It seems to me like dialing in, like, who are those? I know it's always a crapshoot, but
And it was a Sunday.
Sunday,
Oh, ouch.
yeah.
That was a Sunday.
Yeah,
Why are you doing
I
it
think it was a Sunday afternoon event.
in the middle of winter when it gets dark at 3:30?
Yeah.
Maybe not so much. Maybe that would be Saturday. I wonder why they did that.
Could have been.
Try to remember that.
Yeah.
Next time we see them, it's like, why are you doing a special event on
Yeah.
Sunday afternoon in the middle of winter?
I think that is a good footnote for some discussion.
So they probably had proof was running at the same time.
That's true.
So,
That's where they had an.
they probably had the evenings or whatever set up and
Yep.
What are all these pages telling us?
It's that they're 50 miles heads and beds, but people about to get from 50 miles away.
yeah,
Zip codes.
when they run their credit card, they get this data.
That's why we're saying it's absolutely ridiculous. Just tell us.
I don't need to see.
I don't
I
need
mean,
to.
I don't need
This
this
is
thing, but
like-
no,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
But if they sit down and tell me that, you know,
Seats. Oh, you know, because you need to know what seat they're grabbing. No, just tell us how many from another zip code 50 miles away.
yeah.
Yeah.
At least their ads are.
But to their defense, we've pounded them for years of like.
Yeah, we want data.
Data.
It's funny, like, okay, you want this information?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. There you go.
It's there.
Here, you read it now.
Okay, yeah, so maybe,
Otherwise, everyone.
That's right, that's right. Oh, God.
okay, comedy festival final.
Well, that's what those pages were for, the comedy festival.
Yeah, well, we have one page.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, all these other ones.
Oh, yeah.
Just that, just, you know. just-
Yeah,
just
well, I think all the,
As funny as everybody else.
yeah, exactly.
No, what I guess what I'm asking, I'm assuming that these are all the people that came from somewhere else
Yeah,
and.
yes, because I bought tickets and I'm not
Not
on,
on here.
no, me either.
So. That's kind of interesting. I wonder how many people this is. There were a lot of locals in the audience. Two,
I think they asked at the beginning how many were from town, and
but
it
this
seems
is
like
from the
just,
ticket purchase.
I know, but I'm just thinking eyeballing it, it seemed like there was at least 60% of the audience. That
Was out of town.
was out.
That was kind of my guess.
Definitely. So I
And
wonder,
that's just eyeballing it.
I wonder if they're asking the people who come a night of and buy tickets. Is that information in here too? Because it
Oh.
doesn't seem like enough considering what I saw.
Yeah,
No,
Because I was looking around, it's like, I see, I mean, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
the Locals, but I mean, I saw a lot of people I did not recognize.
oh, yeah,
And we talked, of course, me being on this committee. it's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, where are you from?
Mhm.
Why'd you come here? What'd you do?
Yeah.
And to the person next to me on the other side.
Yeah.
So I was curious. So this doesn't seem like it's enough.
of out of towners.
If you add all that up, it doesn't seem.
Yeah, except for a lot of them are weekend pass. That whole
Right.
back is almost all weekend pass, which means both nights.
Yeah. He just didn't give us I mean, I can sit here and add them up.
Yeah,
It's like, why
I
are
know.
there 54 weekend passes?
Okay,
And how many for just Friday night and how many for just
yeah,
Saturday?
well, I'd like to see totals and then splits. That makes sense
Yeah,
between,
and does this include people who walked up and bought a ticket night out?
yeah, okay,
Do we know where they came from?
okay.
well, of course, the other thing we don't know here is, I mean, somebody can sit down and say we came from Portland, but they have a house here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure. We'll never know that one. Yeah.
Yeah,
We used to joke about I have friends that came down for this and they bought their tickets online and they're staying in my house. So it's like, well, tax gonna get a nice little thing that, sitting and paying.
Yeah.
TLT taxes.
but could be eating and doing other things and shopping and
For sure, they sure were.
all of that.
It's
Okay, so,
not a perfect system.
no,
No,
No, but they're making an effort, but that's.
Yeah, yeah, no, this is so.
And I think it's a great addition to.
yeah,
Oh, remember that meeting?
I missed
I
that.
think
first.
that comedy festival anyways
It
is just
was-
a great addition to
it was a rough
the
meeting.
winter activities here. So.
Yeah.
Okay, now on to Get Lit, final. I appreciated graphics and the data again, but I like the breakout of, past attendees, websites, all that kind of stuff, I think. And did lodging specific information, which was interesting. I have,
This isn't Tracy's first rodeo.
no, it is not. And my only notation would be, as I was reading through kind of the little snippet review type comments, was no concerns that she probably didn't already express to us in her application this year. As far as.
Right. Wow, 38% of people were locals.
I get what.
Where they say, where did you stay?
Yeah, I did like that breakdown.
That's answering some questions that we.
Yeah.
We put this out as a model for what everybody else should be doing.
Almost. I can't remember how she said she data collected it. What, was there some kind of like entry to,
You had to answer, I think she's using Eventbrite for her ticket purchases.
And
you
then-
had to answer these questions before you got to buy your ticket.
oh,
This stuff was, what did you think of Jamie Ford as the keynote? This is done later.
okay,
If I'm not mistaken, because when we were doing Sabre, we used Eventbrite, and so we got all this information. Before that, I sat there on the porch and asked every single person where they
Yeah.
were staying. I knew where everybody was staying.
okay, yeah. Okay. Well, definitely making notes for next year's application questions.
You absolutely did.
For sure. Okay, and then it looks like we've got Cannon Beach Gallery, marketing campaign, and Cannon Beach Gallery spring unveiling.
Yeah.
No finals submitted for those.
No, I emailed them.
Okay,
Cannon Beach Gallery?
yeah, they're missing two for spring unveiling and the marketing campaign.
And they didn't submit all of their midterms either.
Odd. That's not good.
Who else? Oh, Earth and Oat.
Was that Joe that came to present?
Yeah. Hey, Joe, and there was another guy with them, I believe.
Who was that?
Wasn't it Joe?
No, I'm in the gallery group.
No, Jeff Hall.
Oh, Jeff Hall.
Oh, that sounds.
Yeah.
It was.
It was Jeff.
It was, yeah.
That was a-
Yeah. Joe and Joe.
Oh, just to put them in. And
Okay. So,
where was the thing that Ashley had gone through?
So that was at the very end.
and
At the end, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Trying to find it.
What I did is I just put the normal thing that we had on our schedule, which is we just talk about the guidelines, goals and suggestions and concerns. I should have swapped that order.
That's okay.
We had, and I apologize, guys, we did end up bumping TAC and a couple other things. And there's been a lot happening at town.
you think?
I haven't heard. Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, that buys me time. So she just had a couple of questions. And I was gonna try to answer them and
I have
then
the same
things
questions.
got kind of a little hectic and crazy. So we just threw them in the packet and figured we could talk about it.
So, yeah, her comments. Same questions here. Is this 2 pages? Did I miss it?
I just had one that I,
One front and back?
front back.
Okay, yeah. I'm looking for the same question.
Scrolling down through the handed out, where are we looking here?
Oh,
At the
the very last page or
It's
last
all-
pages,
Yeah, the last two pages.
Oh, I see, okay.
green and red.
Policy statements. What would be an example of this?
And we talked about it, and
An
I,
example of a policy statement?
just in general, we had so much discussion about
I
it,
know.
but my brain is so fried. We did this, you guys had some great ideas,
I know,
where it was going, and then I'm like, oh.
and I did,
You know, I did that. You just brought it up as a sort of to talk about the policy statement for art purchase. There's an example right there of the type of thing we could do.
public art purchase.
Public art purchase,
Well, and it
policy
feel
statement.
like what we did, I don't know if we got to it or not, I don't know, that was like a month ago. It was over a month ago. I thought we were gonna sit and talk about and say, here, we were gonna talk about it and take sort of a vote on terms of what we thought the priorities should be for tourism dollars.
Well, we were gonna change our code first.
That's right.
So then that way we actually have the, if you're designated to do those things.
Okay, gotcha.
Because, yeah, so this is the first step of changing the code to.
So
to
Tom's
expand
talking
your
it would be
purview.
an example, but not necessarily what we would say is our first priority.
Correct.
Necessarily, because we haven't talked about it yet.
Yes.
Okay.
No, when I drafted this, which, you know, again, was for discussion, I wasn't thinking about anything in priorities. The priority was the priority that popped in my head from the discussion.
But it does give her an example of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So then she.
Yeah, and, you know, and then her question here, are policies, quote, assigned to TAC? Well, they could be. I mean, the council could come to us and say, hey, we need a policy on such and such. Can you guys draft?
Right.
So it could either be that, or we could propose it ourselves, or
Right.
it could come from a citizen who, you know, put it into our lap to review it, so, yeah.
Yeah, I had no
Or just-
problem with the change for review and approval because just word changes of
Yep.
consideration, adoption. Council.
Requested by council, ideas.
Well, I wonder if we just took out the word policies and changed the word to like tasks or, I don't know, because then. So I'm wondering if that's.
The
where-
policies is the hang up.
Yeah,
Well, why don't we give her this example, because, I mean, when we're sitting here talking about, you know, what's the policy for buying public art, that's clearly a policy.
That is, yep.
but that's also, when you're doing purchasing, it goes into the procurement rules too, so it's. It would be. Not necessarily the purchasing of it, it would just be. The process of acquiring it
Or approving what we
Approving
want to
it.
buy.
what you want, where you want it,
Acquisition?
acquisition, maybe.
Yeah, with this thing, I mean, the way that I put this together was just to sit down and say, you know, who do we give preference to? What's the purpose of buying it in the first place? Who do we give preference to? So, you know, we want to give preference to and support North Oregon coast artists. That type of thing, so.
But then if we were to just change this from make policy recommendation to just make recommendations concerning tourism and arts. To city council,
Because that's what I feel like. I feel like that's what they asked us to do.
yeah, because then you can change it to develop and draft proposals for issues related to tourism and arts in Cannon Beach.
Yeah,
Because I'm thinking the word policy is where she's.
yeah, she's getting freaked out by that word. But if city council said, we could sure use a policy, a policy for how we would go about in procuring or deciding on public art. Then that we can do that.
Yeah, because they can say, okay, because your code would have said that you're allowed to make recommendations.
Right.
And council can task you then with doing
Yes.
that actual
Yeah,
policy.
yeah, absolutely.
And I apologize, I did not realize how small this was when you print it out.
Oh, it's small on your page, but mine's normal size.
Mine's okay.
I don't know why you got a tiny.
My bifocals aren't even really. You gotta be kidding me.
Mine is, I can read it okay.
The orangish brown isn't so easy.
But I can read it. It seems like it's like, 10-point type. I don't know. Yeah, maybe if we take the word policy out, it would be less. And she was fine with the advise on issues related to tourism. This part, those are all just word changes.
Yeah.
The perform other functions as directed by city council.
Yeah, and then administer tourism and arts program assigned by city council or, instead of policies.
Right.
Monitor the implementation of programs related to tourism and arts to ensure compliance with the city's intent. With the council's intent.
Right, and then she's saying, are they administering or just monitoring? I think it depends on what the thing is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think we could be doing.
Yeah.
So I don't know
And that would
if
also
we need
be
to separate
directed by
that out.
council.
So is there one line that says administer when assigned and another one monitor? I don't know if it needs to be separated out or not, but.
You have a question? Okay.
I've been thinking more about, let me know if you need another question, about the accessibility issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm having trouble picturing how does that come together? Like, there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of different groups that have to be involved to make that work. Because you have, like, the chamber wants to be involved and they want to have chairs being charged and maintained down there. We would have some here supposedly, that would make sense. So there's Moby mats that have to be stored and maintained, taken in and put out. There's a checkout process. There has to be some way to check them out to both places, or maybe there's a third place. Like, it just seems to me like, it's not just a chamber thing and it's not just a city thing. How does that physically happen? Like, I'd be curious, like, what is Lincoln City doing? Is there a separate group that's takes the money that if we said, yeah, accessibility is real important, we want to put $1 million toward it. Is there another group, or does it get handed off to Trevor to handle as part of Public Works? Or does anybody have a picture in their mind of what that looks like?
Do we think Lincoln City's doing the best job of it? I mean, is that
They have
who
the
the
Moby mats.
prototype?
They have Moby mats and chairs to rent. And actually, Seaside does too. I don't know what they're doing.
So I think they have a kiosk. Doesn't Seaside have the kiosk now?
Maybe.
And so I think there's a kiosk with an app that a lot of this stuff happens through.
Is it run via the city or
I
their
think it's
chamber?
Park and Rec, Park and Rec was
Oh.
doing it for a while.
Oh,
So their Park and Rec was doing the wheelchair, because like my kids go there. And so I remember them talking to people about it. So they were for a while. I'll ask again. See if they still are, and maybe they were doing it in conjunction with the city or the chamber to help out, because they were manned more than anybody else.
oh,
Because they've got daycare there, and they've got preschools there, and they've got all sorts of stuff, so they always have somebody at the front desk. Where a lot of your other places,
yeah.
baptism doesn't always have somebody there,
Yeah.
the swimming, they don't always have somebody
Yeah.
there.
Interesting.
And when it comes to implement this, it is gonna be a huge thing,
It's a
and it's
big
gonna be like a lot of coordination, and like you brought up before, not quite what happened with the whole grant thing where the chamber and
Yes.
ATRAC asked for something, and they did talk at one time, but not enough to do a cohesive together thing, and then this would have to be more of a cohesive together.
Absolutely.
This could be a very big project,
Yeah.
you know.
Because it,
Well,
big.
and I think the online schedule, I mean, you have to first be like, are we accepting walk-ins, or is it a schedule out type thing?
and that's down in the weeds. That's not even at the
Yeah.
10,000-foot level.
Yeah.
Where I'm sitting right
Oh,
now.
I know. Well, I was like looking at the bike shops walked past them the other day and was like,
Could they?
Do
Well,
we
and Tom-
partner
Tom
with
was like, can we
them?
partner with Stephanie?
Well, that's what I was thinking.
Lodge? And it's
Yeah.
like, man, that's a good question too.
Actually, you better get Pulavana in because they've
Right,
got, you know,
right.
pretty easy access down to the beach and it's a really popular spot. So can we partner with them where they administer the whole thing and, you know.
I would. So they forgot to pay their county taxes. They're not, they're gonna forget it. So the leaning on a business to do it is,
Yeah.
But we already did.
yeah.
We
And
did that once, put a bunch of PR out there and there,
Yeah.
here's where we are.
to answer your question, Lincoln City uses their Parks and Recs department, which we don't really have, like with staff and so forth. I mean, on their website, it's listed that 2 people that have city email addresses that you contact.
Do it.
So
A-Trap did it for a while with the wheelchair program and that worked okay, but only okay. Because we got a lot of complaints too. We had a special phone number that they could call, but people didn't answer because they were at the beach and they had to get back here. And we tried to use the police department and that didn't work because if they're busy doing other
Yeah.
things. And so, I mean, it is gonna be a
I feel like
huge.
Bruce is trying to like jam it into something that isn't working. And Lisa has a full-time freaking job. How can you just land something like accessibility on her doorstep? I still have never received a phone call back from her. I was on the accessibility committee and wanted to get in touch with her and say, how can I help make this happen? Never heard from her.
And I think for this committee,
And-
I'm sorry.
No, I'm just thinking, she has a full-time job.
Yeah, for this commission, I think when you guys get to that point though, you can do a rough outline and then could just kind of lay out some ideas you have. And then we bring all the entities together for a joint meeting.
Mhm.
And then you just kind of start there. And if, you know how it goes when you have that many people, it's gonna be a long process, but when it does, when you get to the end of it, you probably would flush out a really good procedure because you would have everybody's full input in it.
So I'm gonna back us up for a second here. Because, well, this is all a great conversation and all of
It's
that.
off topic.
Well, so far, we don't have the authority to do this until we
Yeah.
have the thing passed.
Yeah.
So maybe we need to get this
No,
passed,
did we-
then we can come back and maybe, and this is, to me, worth a whole separate meeting because,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've got other ideas too. I mean, I know some people, for example,
For accessibility.
well, for like reservations, I know some people who developed an entire reservation program for the state of Hawaii for their parks. Just so that you could read, because their parks were overwhelmed, so they developed a reservation system for their park. So, you know, I can talk to them and creating a reservation system for this would be simple compared to the whole park system for the state of Hawaii, but you know,
We have
so.
accessibility committee meeting on 12:30 on September 18th. Join us.
that chamber thing?
That's, well, it's meeting at the chamber. I don't know if it's just chamber.
This,
Is Lisa gonna be there? I don't know. It's the accessibility committee.
what, is that a city council committee created? Like an ad hoc committee?
So it must be, then it must be chamber.
It's chamber, we don't have anything.
I was gonna say,
You have nothing. So that's why I'm like, well, we can sit here and talk into a void in the chamber. What difference does it make? If somebody from the city, if Lisa isn't there,
Well, I think when we come back to get this approved, then
Yes, yes,
we
yes.
have the authority to do this.
How about this? I took your language and I just changed the word policy to see if that maybe sets her mind at ease. So it reads like this: make recommendations concerning tourism and arts to city council. Develop and draft proposals for issues related to tourism and arts in Torn Beach. Present proposals to city council for review and approval. And then we have administer tourism and arts program assigned by city council. Monitor the implementation of programs related to tourism and arts to ensure compliance with the council's intent.
So does that address her question of, are we actually responsible for administering programs as well as monitoring programs? Does
Well-
your wording answer that question?
It's whatever council assigned you to do, right?
Okay,
Because then you're gonna administer the programs that council has agreed to have through this code,
or just monitor it.
or
Which
just
I feel
monitor
like
it.
that's what we do with this.
Yeah,
We take in the information and then say, yeah, this is what we think. We present it to council and they say yes. But each individual group does their own administering, kind of reporting back to us, and we are the ones that kind of hold them accountable. But we're not doing it.
but you would be doing it,
So,
because you don't have another group below you.
Right, so how would we do that?
Well, let's go back to your, accessibility thing. I mean, they theoretically could come back and say, okay, you guys administer
Do
the
it.
program.
I mean,
Yeah.
so just
And then we
spitwadding and thinking out loud. If we had a wheelchair thing and we said, hey, we're gonna give you 15 grand to run the wheelchair program for the city of Cannon Beach. And it was the people over there at Fun Cycles and they're like, okay, we'll run it for you. We'll do X, Y, and Z and all these things. And then we check back in a quarter or a year, whatever the time frame is. We've been hearing that they're never available. You're never there. What do you do with our 15 grand? You know, that's how I see it is.
Yeah.
We distributed the funds to an entity and we're on the hook for making sure that entity does the job.
that's the monitoring part, yeah.
Yeah.
What about instead of administer, we just say oversight? Does that?
Yeah, I'm gonna-
That makes
change?
more sense.
Yeah.
Because we're
Change
all
that.
volunteer. I can't imagine that we're gonna go and administer something.
Yeah, we can change it to oversight. 'cause that
Oversight makes more sense, I
Yeah.
think.
Okay.
I mean, I kind of see it like, yeah, are they giving you a an early on midterm or an annual
Especially if it's a business doing
Yeah.
that.
And
third party?
honestly, you guys will, more than likely, you're gonna get to a certain point and then they're gonna say, okay, you guys had a great idea, this is awesome, you've got it all ready to go, and then they're gonna possibly take it from you and have
Somebody in the
somebody
city.
else in the city do it.
Yep.
Where they check bases and then you guys probably get a report every quarter, cause you'd always wanna have a part of it and see
Yep.
what happens. And so then you wouldn't have as
That's
much.
how I envision it, is that at some point, the city needs to take it on with, I don't know how they're gonna work with the chamber, but the chamber needs to be involved with it because how can they not?
So now it changes it to oversight of tourism and arts program assigned by the council and oversee the implementation of programs related to the tourism and art to ensure compliance with the council's intent. I mean, it actually could come back and say, now you're too big. But we don't want to get too detailed either because you want to be able to have a broad range of things and every council might have different opinions and,
I like
And-
that.
a lot of the things, so what's happened with, so the Parks Committee, what they did with the heritage trees. So they wanted to have a heritage tree program. And so they came up with a heritage tree program and then it was adopted through a resolution. So what I would see happen is council would say, okay, this is great, this is what we want to assign to you. And they may adopt a resolution that formally tasks it to you so that way you have more details in writing. Because now that's with legal, they're big on documentation, where before we didn't have quite the same documentation. So then you would have a resolution that says exactly what you're tasked for, everybody knows what's expected. And then when you're done with that, sometimes resolutions are done once it's done, sometimes it's just an ongoing thing,
I was here that when that one tree got designated that, so that was kind of interesting. It's like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know we were doing that.
And that's something that I was still running, I was still admitting the Parks Committee when they first started talking about this. So I mean, that's been something years in the making that they finally got to that point, which is pretty exciting because they've done research, after research on research and they got to that point and it took a lot of back and forth and now the city has a heritage tree program.
I like what you came up with. Let's see what Ashley says.
Okay.
Yeah, not bad.
And then from there, council could say, yes, this is great. And then we can say, all right, we got some ideas for you, council. And okay, so it is getting closer to 5. Do you guys want to talk about future meetings? So we do need to, typically at this meeting, we would talk about like when we want to meet in March. But you guys are going to want to meet before that to talk about March, right? And then,
And we also take a look at this again after Ashley.
yeah.
Yeah.
Put that on the agenda.
We can look at that, and then also if you guys wanna think about things from our last round of ramps. If there's, if they allow you to broaden your horizon in your code, we can completely change the whole grant program anyways. But as far as timing goes with midterms and things like that, if there's anything you guys think of that we can make it a better process for you, we can talk about that at the next too.
What about September 23rd? That's literally a month from now.
Okay, let me go into.
That I am going to be out of town.
You're out of town?
I'm out of town from the 20th through, I get back on the 28th.
What do you think about October or Monday, the 30th? The week, the following week?
That works for me.
Yeah, I can do that.
What about you, Greg?
The, wait, the 28th?
September 30th.
Oh, 30th, okay. Sure.
And 3 o'clock, that way we have plenty of time?
Yeah,
Okay, so.
And let's tell Mark that he needs his stuff a week before.
Yes.
yeah.
Next meeting. I will say he did good this last round because we exchanged several emails and I was proud of him.
I almost emailed you earlier today.
Well, I got nervous because he did tell me, you know, I'm gonna be here and he gave us the information. So, and I emailed him the packet and like, hey, I know he's got this because he wants to see this happen, so. Okay, I am scheduling the room. And I'll send an email out because we don't have Dre and Jackie and let them know what's our
Great.
plan.
And nobody's applied.
Nope, nobody has applied. I need to do, because we appointed a planning commission member and then I also have, Stacy is actually terming out of Park, so I need to post her opening. So I'm gonna be updating our form, our vacancy notice.
Stacy, like to be on.
That's what I was gonna say.
Should
Should I text her right now?
Hey Stacy, I hear you're, doing it every time. Let's start the meeting.
I'll make sure she'll bring her caramels.
Oh, God.
Oh,
And her toffee.
The toffee. That bag lasted a day.
oh.
I should give you the recipe and I said, please don't, because I will just be disappointed. It's not gonna be the same.
No.
So I'm gonna be
Okay.
posting it and then we've already talked about, with a different group of people, you know, like, hey, share this, you know, help spread the word. So we're gonna be posting that, as soon as I get it done, which will be the next couple days.
Okay.
And then, Greg sent over the link for Lincoln City and I forwarded that
Thank
to
you.
everyone.
Wonderful, thank
So
you.
you've got that.
Okay. Yeah, how many cities now have a stuff and
Quite a
we,
few.
Gold Beach, for God's sake, Gold Beach. I'm sorry. Gold Beach.
You have a big hospital there, though.
There's what?
Don't they have a big trauma center there?
Gold Beach?
Pretty sure. Not that that means you would have wheelchairs, but I mean, it's bigger than you think, even though it's small.
Writing it down and staying there overnight and eating, trying to find a restaurant there.
Yeah. Okay, should we adjourn?
I think we're good, if you're good.
Okay, meeting adjourned.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
You,
Turn off the video.
please stop recording.
Yeah.
Who turns that off? I have a question, for you, Greg.